Hello and welcome to this next presentation at ABG Investor Days. My name is Simon Granat and I'm an equity analyst at ABG covering IT and tech companies. And the next presenter here at our seminar is Anders Wetje, who is the CFO of Avensia, and he will present for the coming 20 minutes and then we'll follow up with a shorter Q&A session. So with that said, Anders, please go ahead and present.
Thank you so much, Simon. And it's a great pleasure to be here today, even if I'm not present physically. That will have to wait until next time, but it's great to be here and do this presentation. You can change to the next slide, please. My name is Anders Wetje, and I am presently the CFO of Avensia. I say presently, I have a relationship to this company actually going back to 2005. So I spent actually a long time on the board of directors with this company before I joined on an operational level from the 1st of January 2020. And I am now the CFO, which is a great pleasure. So I will do this presentation for you today. Next slide, please. Just to give you a bit of background and in what kind of landscape Avensia operates, we are right in the floodstream, I would say, of the digitalization that happens around us on a daily basis and obviously has been happening around us for quite some time already. Just to give you a few key statistics to put it in some kind of context. In average, we as consumers use 32 digital services per day. Quite an astonishing number in my world. 54% of us value digital interactions more than physical interactions. 58% of us prefer to interact on social media better than in stores from a consumer perspective. And 70% of us claim that speed impacts our willingness to buy things online. So this is just to give you a few key statistics that we are operating in this landscape that very much and very rapidly is transforming from a physical environment to a digital one. Next slide, please. So who are we then? Well, we like to call ourselves a premium partner for companies determined to be winners in modern commerce. Modern commerce is often the pure e-commerce component, but also today seen in a broader context where a lot of different channels interact towards us as consumers when companies are selling their products and making their offerings to all of us in the different markets where they operate. And that is really who we are. We are a premium partner for companies determined to be winners in modern commerce. Next slide, please. These are some of the companies that we have the pleasure to work with. There are a lot of names on here that I hope and think that you recognize. Lyko, for instance, Hemtex. We can see Apohem on there, which is a competitor to Apotea. And who else do we have? Dormi, for all of us that play golf. We have Indiska on there. We have Naked, which is a brand that has expanded extremely quickly, an online-only concept. Lindex, Stenströms, and so on. So these are all companies and all clients of ours that we work with. Next slide, please. And this is a testimony, a statement from one of our clients, the founder of Naked, a name that many of you maybe have stumbled upon in the financial press or in other environments. And this is what Jarno says, that we want to offer a unique e-commerce experience to women all over the world. To succeed, we need to continuously develop our site and its content. With Avensia as a partner, we have the opportunity to manage our customers' high expectations while meeting our goals for growth. And that is obviously a testimony that we are very grateful to get. And I think it somehow summarizes very well what we do when we work with clients like Naked. Next slide, please. A little bit of our history. This company was founded back in 1998, so we are turning 25 years very soon. We were not at all focused on e-commerce in the beginning. The foundation was actually an e-learning platform that came out of the university environment in Lund. We got our first bigger e-com client back in 2005, so that is now 17 years ago. So we have been in the e-commerce space for a very long period of time. I would say that 2007 marks some kind of birth date for, or birthday maybe for Avensia as we look today. The originally founded company then merged with two other companies. There were some key players, key individuals that came on board. And from that point in time, it's been a growth journey and a journey towards the more focused modern commerce company that we are today. A few other key years, 2015, we introduced an information management offering. 2016, we established a development center in the Philippines. We entered the US and Norwegian markets in 2018. We bought a minor company in the UK 2019, meaning that we entered the market in the UK. And the last thing on here is that we developed it's not a software, but it's more like a framework. I'm going to come back to this a little bit later on in my presentation. Call it a starter package / framework that we call Excite, that we have developed on top of a software that comes from Commerce Tools. So today we are 100%, we call ourselves an expert company focused on modern commerce. Next slide, please. Our customers are active in 150 countries around the globe, and that kind of reach is, of course, a consequence of us focusing very much on the digital side of things. And it says here that we are 350 plus experts on 3 continents. We have all in all 11 offices. Avensia is a Swedish company. We have our headquarters in Lund. We are very Skåne focused. We have 2 major offices, one in Lund, Helsingborg, soon opening up a bigger office in Malmö, and 4 more offices in Sweden. And then also we are present in Chicago in America. We have an office in London in the UK, Oslo, Norway, and then the Philippines, dating back to 2015. So this is where we are around the globe today. Next slide, please. Here are some key numbers about our business. I just mentioned that we are 350 plus. When I say 350 plus, I think that when we left 2021, we were roughly 320 employees in the company. And then we always have like 10, it fluctuates a little bit, 10 to 20% of the people working with and for Avensia are also consultants, which is, of course, a very common thing to find in our industry. So over the last 10 years, we have managed to grow the company 26% average per year, a growth that with some minor exceptions has been completely organic. We don't have a big M&A history. We are a company that is confident enough to grow on our own terms and conditions, I would say. We managed to generate a 9% EBIT margin in 2021. If you look at our reported numbers, that number was, I think, 5.9%. But we had two very distinct non-recurring items. We had a management shift. Actually, our old CEO made a welcome return in 2021, Robin Gustafsson. I think it was the 4th of March 2021 when Robin rejoined on an operational level. And that costed us some money, that change of CEO. And there was also a product initiative that was stopped. And we took a one-time write-down of 6 million. So we had almost, I think it was 10.4 all in all million SEK that we took over the P&L in 2021 that has been backed out, generating this 9% margin in 2021. I'm writing here that 90% of our business is recurring. It's recurring from the perspective that we are not a software company. I think that's one other thing that was kind of, I shouldn't say clarified in 2021. I also don't see that we are a consultancy business. We are an expert and know-how business. Recurring revenue for us is that all revenue that we will generate in 2022 to clients that were clients already 2021, that is a revenue that we define as recurring. So most people, most clients that do come to us, they stay for a very long time, which we are grateful for. And I think it's a strong testimony for the value that we are able to deliver to our clients when we find the right kind of clients. And I should also say that the right kind of clients find us. We are not for everyone, but when we do find a good fit, it's really a lot of value that is being generated. Our turnover in 2021, close to 400 million SEK. And I think that the Nasdaq First North Premier thing was mentioned already when I walked you through our timeline a little bit previously. Next slide, please. What is it then that we do? I have tried to express it a few times, and I think this presentation is obviously tailored for you as an audience. I'm a finance person, and I normally say to my colleagues in the office that I understand very, very well from an intellectual perspective what we do. When it comes to the technical side of things, there are many things that I don't understand because they go so deep on a technical level. But I think that you can click one time, please, and I will get a highlight where our customer journey often begins. And it begins where here it says manage product information. Actually, there is the word strategy in the inner circle here, which I think is often the entry point when we first meet a client, that we sit down and we do a strategy session lasting for a couple of weeks in order to see if we are right for the clients and if the client is right for us. But when that conclusion has been done, often the first step is to manage product information. To sell digitally requires that a lot of product data needs to be sorted and structured and put into different databases in a very, very particular way, enabling a high volume of transactions. So this is often something that we do for our clients, and it's often kind of a prerequisite and a condition for us to go into the next step. So if you click again, please. And that is to develop future-proof e-commerce platforms. So this is the actual interface that I and maybe many of you will run into. For instance, this is now showing naked. when we actually go into Naked's site and that we want to buy something. That is what we do and what we create. And as I mentioned before, that we have this product information thing as kind of a base to then creating a user interface where consumers come online and consume from one of these sites that we develop for our clients. This is a work that normally takes a couple of months, and the sites that we manage to put together are often come with very, very high performance and generate great results when it comes to sales. And also another very important aspect is that they can take severe amounts of traffic and transaction loads. I don't know if you see it, but it says Black Week here on this little picture. I think Naked's transactions during a period of Black Week goes up like 10 times to what they normally have. So there are extreme loads during certain period of times. And of course, it can't be stressed enough that it's really then that you need to have a solid and working foundation for your online sales. Next, click again, please. After a launch of typically a platform that we have developed for our clients, follow then could be for many, many years where we continuously optimize and improve the work that we have done for the clients. Everything is constantly changing and constantly evolving around us, meaning that these platforms and the technical architecture and infrastructure need continuous kind of fine-tuning to continue to perform. And it could also be that the infrastructure, the general IT infrastructure of the client changes, and then we need to come in and make sure that the parts that we have developed for the client continue to work in a sufficient manner, also in the context of the new IT infrastructure that gets introduced at the client side. Next click, please. A thing that becomes more and more important today is for brands and companies to really build a relationship to their clients. This is one of the most important aspects out there right now. The people who does this well are presently successful online. So this is a very, very important work also for us to assist and help and in cooperation with our clients build strong customer loyalty that is also driving sales longer term and also shorter term, obviously, for our clients. So this is a bit more, I should say, not at all detail oriented, but hopefully giving you some kind of feel for what it is we actually do for our clients. Next slide, please. As I said before, and I think this is an important aspect, and I don't think that we have been confused actually ourselves around this, but we are not a software company, as I said before. We are an expert and know-how company. And obviously, we work with a lot of partners who are software companies and who provide software that we use as building blocks in these solutions that we create for our clients. And you can see some of these software companies on this slide, and we work with them in close cooperation. Some of them are we have worked with a very long period of time. Optimizely, I think, has been absolutely instrumental for Avensia's growth journey. And I know that we have been very important for Optimizely as well. Optimizely was formerly named Episerver. Commerce Tools was a new platform that we started cooperating with. I think the first client was in 2020. So we're now 2 years into that partnership. Very, very high potential and a lot of great clients and projects already done on commerce tools. Voyado is a software that we often gets introduced when we come to this loyalty aspect that I mentioned on the previous slide. InRiver and Riversand are both software dealing with product information that I also talked about before. So we are really operating on a foundation of software from trusted partners and long-term partnerships that should be highly beneficial for us and hopefully as well, obviously, for our partner companies. So if you click again, please. Both these concepts or names, Excite and Nitro, they were on that timeline that I showed previously. Because what we have developed, I think Nitro was in 2016, Excite was in 2020, is that on top of optimizing commerce tools in this case, we have made a lot of development work. That means that our clients are, if they come and there is a good fit with Avensia and we start helping them, is that we can give them kind of a framework that already consists of a lot of things that we have developed, but not really a software in a sense that it can be taken down from a shelf and sold in big volumes, but it decreases the time to market and it takes down the cost for the development projects that we do for our clients. So we do use Excite and Nitro as kind of concepts and names for things that are part of our offering, but I wouldn't call them straight out software products. Next slide, please. Coming into the financial side of things, which is obviously why I am sitting here and basically presenting this for you today. Revenue and margin, we have been growing strongly over the years. We have had profitable growth. Obviously, it costs a lot to grow. And here you can see that the operating margin shows 6% for 2021. Previously, I was talking about 9%. The difference being these 10 million that we took as non-recurring costs in 2021 as kind of a, I shouldn't say turnaround, but I think it was a little bit a turnaround situation that we had when coming out of 2020 going into 2021. So this is revenue and margin for 10 years. You can see that the 2020 we had a thin margin of only 1%. I think we, as many other people, we were affected by COVID, but we continued to recruit. So took a hit in our profitability, but we did it deliberately in 2020. And now we are heading towards more profitable times again in terms of margin. Next slide, please. Cash flow, it says here dividends. It should be dividends, not dividends. We are a company, I think that we have been giving a dividend now for 10 years. We believe in dividends as a way to create shareholder value. And we have a cash flow that supports that. There is a proposal on the table for our upcoming AGM to dividend 0.65 Swedish krona per share in May, consisting of 0.4 SEK in ordinary dividend plus 0.25 as an extra dividend. So, and we have a cash flow from our own operation that supports this because we are not involved in a lot of M&A activity or investing in other areas or tying up a lot of capital in our balance sheet. So we have a strong cash flow and we use it mainly to dividend money out to our shareholders. Next slide, please. High return on equity, and that is typically what you should see in a company like Avensia. We are not requiring a lot of capital to grow. We are mainly tying up money in our accounts receivable side of things from quite natural reasons. When we grow, 30 days of sales is simply becoming a bigger and bigger component in the balance sheet. Besides that, we don't tie up a lot of capital, so that's why we can show high numbers when it comes to return on equity. Next slide, please. This is not rocket science. We are a people business, and obviously we are recruiting a lot of people. So this is just to give you a feeling for how we have grown from a people perspective over the years. 350, this is now the number of actual employees of Avensia. I talked about 350 plus before, but that also including the many talented consultants we work with. Next slide, please. Shareholders, I included this on the financial because I think it's a very important component when you talk about Avensia. The three top shareholders of the company, controlling some 56, 57%, whatever, are all active in the company. You can see my own name on the list with a bit more than 10%. Our CEO is one of the shareholders of A5 Invest, Robin Gustafsson. Our chairman of the board, Per Wageus, is the majority owner of Valid Asset Management. So we are very much people of flesh and blood working in the day-to-day operation, and I think that's a key component in our development as a company historically, but also hopefully going forward. Next slide, please. I talked about this, new customers versus existing customers. I mentioned the number 90%, so we have an extremely solid revenue foundation, sometimes frustrating our salespeople who are out there and looking for new business because our capacity is obviously prioritized for existing client relationships. So, but this is obviously a revenue model that we like, that we work with very long-term relationships and steady income streams. As opposed maybe to people who are just more kind of hiring out their people on a few weeks or few months' time as more as resources. Next slide, please. Here you have the 10-year story of our actual share. We have created, or the return, or whatever you should call it, 1,400% something over a 10-year period. It's been a good development, a nice development. We have outperformed a lot of other stocks and shares. And so this is where we are today. Can never predict the future, but this is obviously the history, and a history that we are quite proud of from a shareholder value kind of perspective. Next slide, which is also the last one. I think I've taken up too much time already. Why should you potentially invest in Avensia? I think we have a very solid strategy of what we do. We have a people focus in our business that I have seen in very few other businesses. I talked about the shareholder situation, people of flesh and blood taking care of day-to-day business. We have this extremely solid customer base of recurring clients. We have shown sustainable and profitable growth. We have a very high return on equity, and we have strong cash flow that we in the majority of that is used as dividends to our shareholders at the same time as we are not curtailing our future growth perspective. And that's what I'm going to tell you today. Thank you so much, and sorry for taking up too much time, Simon.
Thank you, Anders. No worries at all. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for any Q&A session, so we will have to end it as it is today. But thank you for a very comprehensive and also very colorful presentation, and I wish you a pleasant rest of the day, Anders.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.